You're listening to the Savoir Faire audio experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Savoir Faire audio experience. This is episode 18, and I'm super excited to have this chat and interview Jordan Armstrong today. Are you there, Jordan?
I am.
Awesome.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. Jordan is a musical artist, for those that don't know. You can follow her on Instagram at Jordan Armstrong Music. I was checking out her page earlier. We just had a little chat off mic about her East Coast cowgirl theme over there. I think it's an oxymoron because there's not a cowboy hat or boots anywhere. But Jordan says that if we scroll down, we can find them somewhere. So that's on you guys, the listeners, to figure that out. But yeah, Jordan, I'm super excited to talk with you and talk about music in general and maybe your process for writing songs. I was kind of hit off guard today when I listened to your music because I listened to this new track we're going to talk about in a little while. And you've got this kind of like raspy, kind of and dirty in a positive way, voice. And it's so unique. Have you gotten like a lot of compliments about your voice and how kind of rare you actually sound?
Yes, my voice definitely. It's funny too. I think maybe you're hearing it when you talk to me. I get a lot that like my speaking voice and my singing voice are so different. So I definitely have gotten used to shocking people, which I enjoy. I think it's way more fun that way. I mean, my favorite artists are like Amy Winehouse, like people with very distinct tones. Those are the people I get obsessed over and, you know, consume so much of their music. I feel like it's their personality. It's all in their tone and their singing voice. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that really kind of unique quality that people have to their voice that makes them kind of stand out. And like, for me, I feel like when I can listen to 5 different artists in a day and they all sound the same, that's just not good for me. I need to be able to have something that's recognizable. So when I hear that raspiness, I can be like, oh yeah, that's Jordan. I know that artist based on the voice. That's cool.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So take me back a little bit. Let's start from the beginning. We'll build a little timeline here for everybody. When did Jordan's career in music start and what kind of happened with your journey?
Yeah, well, I always say I came out of the womb this way. There was not like a time where my parents can really recall where I wasn't singing or trying to be the center of attention. So I think music was always when, not an if. It was going to happen, and it's happening. You know, it's a journey, and I'm still on that journey. But it's always inherently been who I am. You know, I started singing as soon as I could talk, and then as soon as I could start putting little melodies and lyrics together, I was writing. And my parents moved out of our childhood home, oh my gosh, almost been like 4 years now. And we had a piano, and in the piano bench, it was just like overflowing with lyrics of mine. And, you know, I've been meaning to go back and go over those lyrics and see if maybe I can pull some of them for my writing today, because I think that'd be pretty funny. But it's really, truly, I've just always been so passionate about music, and it's just felt like who I am. But starting in middle school is when I started taking guitar lessons, and I sat there and I learned my basic chords, and then I was like, can I sing these songs, to my guitar teacher? And he was so awesome. He was like, yes, of course. And we would sing songs, and he'd try to teach me like another bar chord, or like he wanted me to go like rip solos. And I was like, no, I've got my chords. I'm just going to sing now. And I'm going to play these songs, and I'm going to go write with my campfire chords. And he kind of lost track of me, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to get you a vocal teacher. I know some people, so let me give you the opportunity to just go sing your head off, because I think that's where your heart and soul is. So I started taking voice lessons towards the end of middle school, beginning of high school. And that's when it became like a little bit more, you know, I was learning about voice health and how to perform, when really before that it had just been me mimicking, you know, Mariah Carey, Britney Spears, Destiny Child, all those powerhouses. That was definitely the sound I was attracted to. And then I decided that when college came around, it was really important for me to go to college. And I wasn't so sure about going to an all music school. So I actually started at Belmont University. I went down there for songwriting. I ended up transferring to Berklee College of Music, and that was a part of my journey as well. So
that's so cool.
I guess I'm rambling all over the place. But yeah, after Berklee, I came down here to Nashville, and I've been doing the music thing, me and everybody else in Music City. But
I love that. So my story is cool. I'm glad you're dropping some names here because I like that. I moved to Nashville when I was 16. Was not involved in music at all. I moved there because my parents moved there. And once I got there, I got wrapped up in everything. But I met songwriters after songwriters. I learned how to play guitar. I started writing. I started doing my own little ventures. I also went to Belmont.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the first college I went to. And then I met a really amazing songwriter who had tons and tons of hits on the radio. And he was like, listen, like, I understand you're going to Belmont for music composition, whatever. Your mom told me about this. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you don't need to go to college for this. He's like, you have ability to write. You have the ability to perform. Just hang with us. And it was like, he was talking about him and a collective of other writers that I was chilling with like 3 nights a week. We were all playing out together. He's like, just hang with us and we'll help you build this career up. And so that was a thing. That was a thing for like a couple of years. So yeah, I left Belmont, didn't take on all the debt, and didn't kind of pursue it professionally. But I also didn't want to be in front, like singing and doing all the things that you're doing. I wanted to be hidden away and just, get my songs sung by great people like you. So that's kind of cool that you dropped Belmont, because it triggered with me immediately. I was like, oh, I went there too.
Yeah, and it's great. Like, I mean, like you said, the thing about Nashville is, for me at least, I've spent some time in New York. I haven't really done LA, but Nashville, you get here, you meet one person, you start meeting everybody. It really is like a small town.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that's like the same in all these other major music cities, but I came down here and it was just a trickle effect of like, hey, meet this person. Nobody's like, doesn't hold anything too close to their chest. They're like, no, I want to introduce you. Let's build this community. Let's keep this community thriving. So I think that's really special about this place. And
yeah, I would say the music industry is different in between LA, New York, and Nashville. And my perspective is, in Nashville, it's exactly like you said. Everyone wants to share everybody. It's very like small town feel in a big city. It's very cool that everyone knows kind of everybody. It is who you know in Nashville to make it, for sure. Yeah. You got to know people, or you're just not going to be running in the right circles. In New York, I feel like the music industry in New York is extremely fast paced. If you you need to get a home run right out of the gate, or you're just going to fail. And it's very aggressive. It's very much like New York City. Everything's super fast. The city that never sleeps, whatever. I think that's kind of the vibe. In LA, I feel like it's a little bit more the opposite of Nashville, where, oh, I know this guy and you're not going to get to talk to him unless you're somebody. And no one kind of networks and connects. It's very kind of, I don't know, LA really kind of hit the ugly side of the industry to me. And they don't really share contacts and move people around and try to help people. It's like, you got to be something before you go to LA and try to get into that scene. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So Nashville truly is like the starting town for most people that want to get into music. And well, what we've learned from you too is like your style is not really 100% country, and it's definitely not Christian rock, which is another big category in Nashville. So it's just a good town to start your music career in, for sure. I would recommend like that for a lot of people.
Totally. And like you said, it is that small town vibe. And I think that's a really cool, different part of Nashville, is that you come here and you don't feel like things are 100 miles away. Everything's 10 minutes away. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I mean, like going to school in Boston, spending a lot of time in New York, like I got used to, you walk everywhere, you take the subway, but in Nashville, you use your car, you get places, but it's all very close by. So even like in New York, like you live in one neighborhood and your friend lives in another, like it's too far away to get over there. But here, everyone's just, I could be in East in 10 minutes, or, I could be downtown in 10 minutes. You can go all over the place.
Yeah. The studios are all on the studios, the record labels, the places where people play out, all the kind of all that stuff is so jammed together. That's what makes it so kind of cool. Like I remember that vibe too. Everything was really close and you could go anywhere. I mean, there was a couple songwriters nights and songwriters clubs where you had to drive to get to them, but they were worth it. They were like the big ones where a lot of like bigger artists would go and hide there because it wasn't downtown kind of stuff.
Totally.
And so, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. So that's cool. You mentioned like Amy Winehouse and a couple other artists when you were talking about people that you admire, but are there other like musical inspirations besides just the singers? Are there other people in your career that you kind of admire and listen to for other things besides just vocals?
100%. I mean, I always say I'm a Y2K girl at heart with like a 70s, 60s twist. You know, the 70s and the 60s, like my parents really influenced me in that way. They were always listening to music, especially like from like the Laurel Canyon era, so like Carly Simon, the Eagles, all these Jackson Brown, like all these people and their songwriting styles, which are very storytelling, which I think storytelling is existing and why part of the reason I'm in Nashville is in country music. So I think in that way, that's where I start to lean a little bit in country. I definitely like to tell a story and I'm very into my lyrics. And that's like the 70s and like the folksy music from then. It was all very lyrical and there was so much detail, which I love. And pop music doesn't always allow a lot of room for, especially in like the top 100, you know, it's hard to be able to say all these things. Although now we have like Noah Kahan and Zach Bryan, who are very like poetic and lengthy writers, and they're charting on the charting. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I am into everything about music. Those people, I think, as a child, I was very attached to like pop icons because I myself was like, I want to be an artist. I love to be on stage. I love to like grab the attention of a room. So I was definitely very inspired by these women who had these voices that just like stopped everybody. And that's why Amy Winehouse, I mean, I don't know a person who could walk by that voice and, you know, not turn their head. And I always really focus on that. And also Beyonce and Destiny's Child, like those, it's just, there's so much power there. So that's what vocally, yes, but I also just think you can sense a lot of artistry in those artists. And I think that's really important. Like I was a songwriting major at Berkeley. I was doing so much songwriting and we learned a lot about like hits and, you know, everybody wants to know how to write a hit, which I don't know if there's a mathematical equation, although people spend a lot of time trying to analyze and figure one out. But I always think the most successful and long-lasting artists are ones that have their own signature, and it's just kind of an essence that's in their music. And I think that's something that I myself am like always trying to conquer and find is my essence. And it's really exciting to hear you say like, wow, like your voice leaves an impression, and I know it's you, because I just want people to listen to my music and be like, that's Jordan, you know. And you might not be able to pinpoint what it is, but it's there. To be able to carry your presence into your music, I think is my ultimate goal.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, if I'm looking at your Instagram profile and I'm just seeing like this tall, skinny, blonde haired girl, that fits in with everybody, right? And that's a dime a dozen. But when I hear you sing, when I listen to like some of the music that you've written on Spotify and other places where you have it released, there was like this kind of little raspy, kind of grungy kind of feel to your voice that is super abnormal, like something I've never heard from any other artist. And I was like, that's super unique to have this. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview with you, because I feel like that's something that's going to catch on. And, you know, I want to be able to be like, yeah, Jordan's super famous, but I interviewed her before everybody knew who she was.
That's the goal. I love that too. And I'll come back to you first every time.
I love that. So, so I heard this kind of like raspy kind of feel in there. So it's kind of cool that you like Amy Winehouse and these other artists that are kind of super unique to that kind of style or have that uniqueness to their voice. There's a couple other people on TikTok I'll have to send your way that you should check out too. I'm not sure if you follow them or not, but they also have this very kind of unique kind of raspy thing. And there just might be something there that you'll recognize or pick up within yourself. So you'll know kind of going forward, which pieces of your vocal are like your signature, and they can be part
Yep.
of the music that you produce in the future. So that's very cool. So talk to me about songwriting. You and I both are songwriters. I've been doing it for a lot of years. You write a lot of your own material. Where do your ideas and concepts come from songwriting? Are they just more personalized? Do you get them from abstract ideas? Where's all that stuff kind of come from?
I mean, it's sometimes my favorite way to write, I would say, is I take a guitar amp and I face it towards me, and I get my, silly mic, I plug it in, and I just like strum for 10 minutes. And that's my favorite way, is just to ramble. But, since going to Berklee, since like streamlining the process a little bit, it did teach me to very carefully listen to my surroundings. So I've become very fixated on listening to the way people speak and picking up these random things they say and just like stowing it away for later. My notes app is filled with like one-liners that I thought that was such an interesting way they said that, So I've become very aware, and it's become a part of me to just listen and like, they call them like, what do we call them in school? But just like little song seeds. Yes, a song seed. So I'm very into song seeds these days. Oh my gosh, it's a tongue twister. Song seeds these days. But before Berklee, songwriting became an education of any sort, or I, really thought about it, it would just be me rambling. And I think my entire family, I probably annoyed the crap out of my siblings. I would sit in our living room and I would sit in the center of a carpet and plug my guitar into an amp and just sing endlessly for like an hour. I have voice memos and videos on my phone that are like 20 minutes long. And I'm like, when am I ever going to go through this voice memo of me when I was 14? I don't even want to hear myself singing when I was 14. But I think that's also, there's something to be said for like just singing and singing. And if you remember something after those 20 minutes, then, that's probably your best idea that came out of those 20 minutes, and go and start with that and run with that. And I just like, it's a feeling. And I think there's something really special. A big part of me now, what I'm working on, is taking what I've learned, taking what I'm learning from constantly co-writing all the time now too, and mixing it with what I inherently have always been doing with songwriting. Because I don't think you want to lose that other part of yourself just to this like process that everyone's trying to figure out in Nashville and school and whatever.
Right. No, I like that too. And my process with writing, and when I was doing it extremely like aggressively, was very similar. I would pick up my guitar and I would just start strumming, and after 5 or 10 minutes, some kind of rhythm or something would come from that. And then I would start humming a little bit and figuring out what kind of words made sense with certain stuff, and then eventually start putting it on paper, and then a chorus would come, and then a lot of those things just got filed. They didn't go very far. Like you said, it's kind of like getting little ideas and little trinkets from different sessions each time, and then they just kind of get put into a box, and sometimes those never resurface, and sometimes you find the time to go through them and find unique ideas. I feel like the storytelling atmosphere of writing is something that I've done as well as you. Where I want to have a beginning, a middle, and an end to my story that I'm telling people, so they follow it. And like, I think a good book, when you write a good book, it has to have good cliffhangers. So I think in a song, it also has to have good cliffhangers to lead you into this kind of uniqueness of where this chorus comes from and what it means, and how you kind of highlight the lyrics that you're kind of creating. So, I mean, I'm glad that you are tapping into some of that energy and that kind of way of writing. I'm sure that there probably is a lot of scholars or professional songwriters or, teachers at these different schools that you've gone to or that I've gone to that are really kind of focused on, well, how do we write a hit? How do we create a hit? And I think your story about how you come up with ideas for songwriting is pretty accurate. I don't think that hits happen. I don't think there's a formula to make one. I think that if it relates to an audience and the voice is unique enough, then people will listen and people will share it, and eventually you go viral. And when you go viral, that's when
The
the
goal.
industry, yes, that's when the industry pays attention. And all of a sudden you've got
Yeah.
labels and you're traveling and blah, blah, blah. I mean, some people become like a one-hit wonder aspect, but other people, depending on the uniqueness of what they've created, will just be rolling them out over and over and over again.
Totally.
And so you kind of look for that like genie in a bottle, gold in a bottle kind of atmosphere where you're hoping everything you touch turns to gold. Doesn't always happen, but you just need that one. So,
Yeah.
speaking of one, I listened to High Note today, and this is the song that I listened to because I knew we were going to talk about this is your new release. I really want to dive into the story behind High Note and have, from your perspective, what this song truly is about, and then give us a little bit of that creative process and where High Note is now. I mean, I know you have it available on different platforms, but is this song going to be part of an album? Like, what's going on with it?
Yeah, so High Note I wrote with my friends Brianna Nelson and Stacey Kelleher, who we all went to Berklee College of Music, but I didn't meet them until I moved down to Nashville. So after I moved down here, you know, I was reaching out to anybody that I even had a little bit of knowledge of knowing, you know, just seeing if anybody would write with me, because you got to put yourself out there to get anywhere. And, you know, they became two good friends, and we just kind of had like a little girls' night. I mean, it was a scheduled write, but it wasn't anything too heavy. I think Stacey like ordered a pizza, like we had all worked all day, you know, and it was just kind of like, we don't want to think too hard here. And I've had a lot of heavy stuff, especially in the past 2 years, go on in my life. You know, I was diagnosed with epilepsy in 2022. It was actually a week after I moved to Nashville for the first time. So I had a seizure in my sleep. I lost my license. I lost my ability to live alone. I had to move back to Boston to be close to family and public transportation. That's really hard in a music career. You feel like any setback is like taking years off your music life. So that's definitely something that, I mean, now I'm almost 2.5 years seizure free, and I'm in a great place, but it definitely has taken me a while to get here, and to feel like, oh gosh, is my world going to come crashing down again? And then, you know, I moved back here in January of, 2023. Does that make sense? 2022, 2020? I don't know. One of the two.
Yeah.
I'm losing track of time here, but a few weeks after I moved back here the second time, my parents flew me home to let me know that my dad had cancer.
Oh.
So it's just been a lot of like very big life things happening. You know, life happens to everybody. It is the truth. You know, it's good. Life's going to keep going, and things are going to be thrown your way. But in this career, like I said, it's like, oh, I got to put my whole life behind this career. I got to do everything. But then there's so much in shambles over here. Like, how do you split your time? How do you balance all this mentally? So I was just in this, right? And I'm like, you know, I don't want to think too hard tonight. I just want to, you know, have a good night. And I was like, I had written this note in my notes app, and it was like High Note. And I was like really obsessed with this idea of just like leaving things on a high note, because I felt like I was constantly like coming back to this really bad mental place of negativity. I didn't want to be always resorting to this negative state of mind. So I was like, you know what, like, let's leave things on a high note tonight. And we took the spin on it. I'm from Massachusetts. Everything is legal there, maybe not in Tennessee. But we just had fun, and it's centered around a one night stand. But really, in my mind, it's just about like, take what you need from life, take in the good moments, and then just leave it on a high note. You know, don't get too buried in everything, because it's so easy. Even like in relationships, if you're going to look at it through that lens, it's like, I mean, I was in a very long-term relationship that ended, and I think it was hard for me to like be like, okay, not every relationship has to be the love of your life. You can have relationships just for experiences, just for like human connection, and enjoy that. So I was just really, really centered around this idea of just like letting myself have some fun. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, everything doesn't have to be monumental. So yeah, I released High Note. Jake Finch produced it, who's awesome. He has every instrument imaginable in his shed studio, garage studio in his backyard, and he can play everything. So being in the studio with him is absolutely crazy. He just is so talented, and he runs from the drums to the piano to the mandolin. Like, he does everything, and he's a one-man band, and it's just so inspiring. So I was really excited to work on the song with him. And yeah, so it's out now. It's on Spotify. It's not going to be a part of an album. I'm working on a lot of music with a new producer, and I'm really excited about it. I'm not sure if it'll be an EP or just singles yet. You know, it's kind of a different market these days. It's hard to just release a whole album if you don't necessarily have the listeners who are going to engage with it. You want to use every song to help build yourself up.
Right.
But High Note feels like a good spot in my life, like what I just needed from life and what I wanted to put out there as a representation of where I am at.
No, I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I ask about these songs, because people, when I get a PR email and they say, hey, do you want to talk to Jordan about her new release? It's called High Note. And then you go listen to the lyrics. And from my perspective, I'm like, I hear this one night stand kind of theme in here. Like, I hear this, but I'm like, is this really about that? Because there's no way. And then when you talk about it from your perspective, and I find out there's the layers of an onion being peeled back in this one song, like, that's the part that I love about songwriting. And like, this is a release for so many things that have happened in your world, and that mental kind of situation that you're going through with your own health and your dad's health and whatever, like, all of those things kind of being wrapped up into this storyline. And I could kind of visualize, you know, 3 girls just hanging out in Nashville, drinking wine and eating pizza and like jotting stuff down. And this high note idea of like leaving everything on a high note. I mean, that's the lyric that kind of caught me a little bit too.
Yeah,
that's definitely the lyric that caught me. So that's cool that was like a little note that you kind of ran with. I mean, it does make sense to me too. You mentioned this while you were talking about that, you know, it makes sense that not everyone that comes into your life is supposed to be there for the long term, right? That they're supposed to be, you know, around all the time. I've always kind of learned in life that like the people that you meet are either going to give you a lesson or they're going to give you a gift. And you have to figure out what those people are bringing to the table for you. And these are not like family members and stuff, because we know that relationship. We know our friendship relationships. Like, but people in the professional industry, they've got they've got one of those two things. And you hope that like in Nashville, everyone's got a gift. Everyone's like, hey, I want to introduce you to this person. I want to move you here. I want you to try to work with this artist or this producer or whatever. Like, that's what I'm talking about, compared to the other people that come in and educate you about something and then you don't hear from them again. But it's something that stays with you, like something you've learned from them. So that's kind of the uniqueness that I always thrive for, is paying attention to every person that I meet, figuring out what they're bringing to me, and then what parts of it that I'm going to hold on to. I've talked to thousands of people in my life as a magazine editor at this point, and met all kinds of people, and everyone drops different little nuggets that are never the same about every industry that I've ever covered, especially music. Like, I've interviewed probably more music artists in the last 5 years than I ever had in my life, even being in that industry. So it's very cool, kind of unique to like hear the stories, hear the back stuff, and understand where songs come from. So Jordan didn't have a one night stand. She just used that storyline as an escape for a release to put lyrics into place. But I love the idea of the way this was written.
Yeah, I think imagery is so important too. And, you know, a lot of pop hits, like you said, people will take at surface level. And there's so many things, even as a child, I mean, there's so many songs you listen to that you have no idea the innuendo that's, you know, being put in front of you, and then you grow up and you're like, wow, I was screaming that at 10 and that's not what I thought that song was about. So I think it's really funny. And also, I mean, like, as songwriters, I'm sure you listen to a song and you are peeling the onion because that's who you are innately. But there's a lot to be said about songwriting. You know, you write these songs and it's okay if not everybody gets the whole message, but I just hope they get something out of it. And whatever you get out of it was what it was meant to give you. just in the same way relationships, whatever you get out of that person is what was meant to be given from that relationship. You're supposed to meet them for that reason.
Yeah, I totally agree. That makes a lot of sense. And that's exactly what the music is to me. It's a definition that a lot of other musicians kind of live by. So that tells me that you're legit when you say stuff like that. Because it really, yeah, I mean, that's how you get the variety of audience to listen to some lyrics, because there's specific, I mean, there's an artist that I can't even tell you what her name is right now. I heard her song completely by random, and it had 2 lines in it that were like so unique to me that they stuck. And I remember I listened to the whole song and I'm like, nope, I'm not really a fan, but I love these 2 lines that she said. Mm-hmm. And then I wrote them down and I just kind of had them as something. I can never use them anywhere because someone else's words, right? But if I ever cross paths with that person in the future, I think she just went on tour with like Jelly Roll. She's an independent artist. Oh, I can't remember her name. But either way, she had like one song that had a couple lines in it that just made a whole lot of sense. And it was kind of like a breakup vibe or something. And, I can't remember. It was something about like being in a new place and realizing that you wouldn't be in that place if you didn't get rid of that relationship. And that was such a trigger for me. Like, man, because some situations in life can launch you forward in ways you've never really thought. And that stuff is super, super unique to think about.
100%. I mean, I think life is, you just have to succumb to the fact that it's unpredictable. And there's no reason, what is it, like, man plan, God laugh, and whatever you believe in, whoever you believe in, I think somebody's laughing at us whenever we make plans.
Most likely, yeah. I mean, there's got to be some kind of another kind of higher power or something that keeps track of us, and I'm sure there is something like that. So Jordan, give me the breakdown. I want you to just tell everybody where they can find you, listen to you, all that good stuff. I'll let you do your little pitch, and then we'll call this good for today.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a great conversation and a way to spend my Friday. You can find me, Jordan Armstrong Music, on almost every social media platform. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all the things, Amazon Music. I don't have a CD, I got to get that. I got to get some physical stuff, for hopefully I get a crowd, that wants to listen to a CD in their car. My music player didn't work in high school, so I can relate to needing something physical to put in your radio. Yep. High Note is my most recent release, but there's a lot coming, and I actually have a little surprise that's coming out at the end of August. Oh. So if you go follow me now, you'll probably be there in time to get a little bit of me before fall hits us all. But there's so much ahead of me. I'm very excited. I hope that, I can come back to you in a few years and we can be even more excited about the progress I've made. But being in Nashville, being able to just create music every day is a blessing, and I'm happy and excited and constantly changing and learning and evolving. And so follow along at Jordan Armstrong Music, and I hope you enjoy the music.
That's so awesome. Thanks so much, Jordan. It was nice meeting you, and I hope you have a great Friday and a good weekend.
So nice to meet you. You as well.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savfair.com and subscribe to our publication.